Good morning. I just wanted to speak about the Southport incident. Not specifically, but also in the grander scheme of things. So what did we have? We had a man whose racial lineage is not native to England, right? Simple as that. It's not native to England. I believe he's from Rwanda, or his parents are from Rwanda, so he's Rwandian, however you say it. So he stabbed a massive amount of kids. I think it's 3 kids at the moment that have died, and several more have been injured, right? At some Taylor Swift yoga dance class or something. And obviously the reaction to that from the locals is what you're seeing. In an isolated incident like that, you could say, well, look, there's some lunatic, some evil person. I won't even say lunatic because that spills into the mental health argument. All evil people, when you look at their behaviour, you could categorise that as some sort of mental disorder. It doesn't excuse it. You're just switching the labels. One which is an absolutely moral label of evil. The other which is a pharmaceutical or a medical label, a psychiatric label, which is more palatable to people. Because we're told everyone suffers with mental health problems at some stage in their life. People go, of course, I was upset for a period of time. Whatever. So now we're still attributing this sort of label to people that go and take children's lives. Okay? So, grand scheme of things, what are we seeing? We seen it last year in France. The video was there for people to see. You see what has come out to be a Syrian man in a playground stabbing children. You see that in Ireland, 2 kids, a few kids were stabbed in Ireland along with their teacher by, I believe, is an Algerian man. You see, there's loads of them. There's stories all across Europe. You see that poor girl Lola who was butchered, again, by people of the Islamic faith, or people that were Muslim, right? So what does that say? Again, in an isolated incident, you'd look at it and go, treat it as such. But if you're any sane person, any rational person, which you would imagine police detectives to be, okay? The general population, they don't have to be, and they're not, right? But you would imagine any sort of detective or any sort of minister for justice or any sort of person involved with the upholding of justice in the country would start to see a pattern, okay? Now, does it play into this government's hands and potentially the English government's hands if you have massive ethnic conflict in Ireland, England, France, whatever you want to look at? Because this problem is pervasive across all Western countries at this point. Does it play into their hands if you have ethnic conflict between those who were brought in here and those who are native to the lands? Absolutely it does. Why so? Because given such a massive eruption of ethnic conflict, these governments can declare a national state of emergency, which means all human rights are suspended, all constitutions are suspended, media coverage is now taken over by the government explicitly. You might make the argument it is already, and there's certainly an argument to be made there, and there's some valid points in regard to that. Just the basic fact that the RTE, the national broadcaster for Ireland, gets its payments from the government at the expense of me and you, the taxpayer in Ireland, right? So, national state of emergency, all rights suspended, all media taken over, control of the economy is taken over by the government. This is the case in Ireland now. If it's different in your country, please let me know. Total tyranny, right? Just like the COVID stuff, total tyranny. So what's the point? Do we sit back and go, no, look, see, if you're going to give out about other people's, then you're playing into the government hands? Of course not. If you have kids being killed, and it's becoming routine now, if you have kids being killed, I was going to say for no reason, but sure, is there ever a reason to be doing that? No, there's not. You're going to see these eruptions of native people going, I don't want this. It's absolutely not happening here. And we're going to go out and we're going to attribute our own sense of justice, because the police and the Gardaí, from what we've been witnessing, they don't have the native people's backs. Why? Pressure from above, right? And total moral bankruptcy on the part of these people in these jobs. I'm not saying that they have no blame or they have no choice in what they're doing. I'm just following orders, or I'm just doing my job, not good enough. When just doing your job leads to violence and the deaths of children, you either need to get out, or you need to admit what you're doing and change your ways, right? Or you need to start talking up. All of the above, probably, right? So, what do we do? And what is actually happening? Fundamentally, is there a problem when you force populations to mix together? Absolutely. Is that an issue across the West for the last few decades? Absolutely. Is it crystallizing now into nearly an unavoidable conflict between different ethnic groups? It's looking like that. And not just ethnic groups, because you have the religious element in it too, okay? Which is an issue. You have one set of beliefs that says it's okay to kill people that don't adopt those beliefs. I'm not even going to quibble with you on it. It's demonstrably shown that one set of beliefs leads to certain circumstances. Not all the time, but it doesn't have to be all the time. It just has to be enough. And one is enough. One child, one person being killed by somebody who had no right to be here. That's enough. Right? We've tolerated it for way too long. And fundamentally, the issue is, for me, these governments are gambling with your children's lives. And it's becoming blatantly obvious what the outcome of these gambles are. You lose. You don't just lose the decision-making abilities in your community based on the demographic changes and these demographic niches voting in their own people. You lose your children's lives because of this. So, is it okay to get out, and is it expected that you're going to see natives out in the streets demanding justice and going to wield the hammer of justice themselves? How is that avoidable? That is human nature. It's human nature. And the governments and the media organisations, they're now spinning that to say, look at these terrible racist English people. Crazy carry on. Drew Harris said it in the Dublin riots, where you had Irish people who were angry, full of rage at the system that failed them, when you had kids nearly stabbed to death. There's question marks around it as well, whether some of these kids are still alive or what's the story. It seems to be changing a lot. I don't know. But you have a perfectly natural and rational reaction to what was going on. Because the system, the guards, the media, the governments, the whole lot of it, the NGOs, the whole lot of it, failed the Irish people, the English people, French people, German people, all of the above, American people, the whole lot of it. Western nations across the country are now being systematically terrorised and picked off. It's no coincidence that these people are killing Western children. They're killing Western children. They're killing the future of the Western people. These are not just brutal physical acts. They are symbolic acts. Your future is being taken away from you in front of your very eyes. And now, when you react to that, the whole media turns its attention from this evil onto your reaction, and they condemn it as just some racist nonsense, instead of actually plugging it into the context of the situation and having adult conversations about it. This whole media, the whole governments, the whole lot of it needs to go. These governments are gambling with your kids' lives, and they are now absolutely in full knowledge of what the outcome of that is going to be. And if you've anything to say about it, we will arrest you, we will bleed your full name, your address, and your occupation and where you work all over the media. But when somebody then, who's a foreign person, goes and kills kids, well, we can't disclose any information about the background of the suspect because for reasons of safety and national security and stuff. This government is sitting back importing violence onto you and watching as your kids, your people's futures are being taken from you, and they are not doing anything to help it. In fact, they're pouring petrol all over the situation. These governments need to go. They need to be locked up. They need to be arrested. They need to be charged with crimes against humanity. And every single one who's complicit in this needs to see the same sort of outcome. So, is it enough to be reacting to on the ground in your community? It's natural. It's going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. What do you expect them to sit back and go, sure, look, we'll leave the guards deal with it? And England's a great example for this. So what have they witnessed over the last few decades? They've witnessed police departments who did not want to investigate grooming gangs or make that information available to the public for fears of being called racist. When the real fear, I would imagine, is that they don't want the blowback from these different communities who are far more prone to violence than Western people are, or far quicker to violence than Western people are. The West, of course, Western people get violent. And I believe that when Western people get violent and begin to assert their dominance over their land and begin to assert what they see as justice, game over for everyone else, because the West will reclaim their lands. And I believe it needs to start. And because every peaceful avenue has been taken away from Western people, the source of that problem, these dirty, dirty politicians and government and people in the media who are gaslighting people and psychologically manipulating people and telling them that their perfectly natural and biological and instinctual response to these situations is evil, corrupt, and needs to be contained and dealt with. They need to go. So any anger in that also needs to be directed at going up and removing these people from office. And if the Gardaí, the army, none of that stuff, none of them people are going to do it for you. We need to get together and demand that these people leave or they'll be removed. And it's as simple as that. And you can say, you're advocating for government subversion there or whatever. These people stopped being a legitimate government a long, long time ago. These are now Stonewall psychopaths who are facilitating mass murders on Western lands, and they need to go. And if we don't decide that we need to go and remove them, we are responsible for what comes next.